Now, as far as the Middle Eastern region, which is witnessing this latest round of escalation, the U.S. Central Command says that the American forces have launched an additional round of strikes against Iran, targeting capabilities used to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz for the fourth straight day. Let's get you exactly what has happened in the last few hours and what we are now looking of the attack on commercial vessels and thereafter blocking the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S., which has reimposed the naval blockade on Iranian ports. And in retaliation, Iran has once again attacked Gulf countries which are hosting U.S. military bases.
اساسی یادداشت تفاهم اسلام آباد مبنی بر توقف جنگ، توقف دائمی و فوری جنگ و در واقع عملیات‌های نظامی علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران و همچنین در تمامی جبهه‌ها از جمله لبنان بود. خب کافی است که همین علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران از سر گرفته بشه که خب ما در 2 هفته گذشته 2 بار شاهد هستیم که آمریکا در واقع این عملیات نظامی رو در علیه جمهوری اسلامی ایران از سر گرفته. همین کافی بود که در واقع نشون بده که آمریکا در واقع به هیچ وجه پایبند به این یادداشت تفاهم نیست. از این رو ما الان چیزی به نام تعهدات یادداشت تفاهم اسلام آباد که بخواد ساری و جاری باشه نداریم، نه از سوی آمریکا نه از سوی جمهوری اسلامی ایران. یعنی ما الان تعهدی نداریم. اگر هم کسی در واقع از جمهوری اسلامی ایران تقاضا میکنه، درخواست میکنه که برگرده به تعهدات خودش، مثلا بیا تنگه هرمز رو باز کنه برای عبور کشتی ها، اینو درخواست بلاوجه و یک درخواست بی اساسی است که ما برای اون قطعا وجاهتی قائل نیستیم.
So let's talk about Tehran as well, which has also issued another warning over the future of energy supplies coming from the Gulf. IRGC says that as long as what it calls America's mischief in the region continues, not a single drop of oil or gas will be exported from the region. Now, the IRGC is also vowed that retaliation, what it calls as a punishment of the aggressor, will continue as long as the U.S. actions persist. Let's connect with Mayank on this angle because, Mayank, it's getting worse by the day. I mean, looking at the current situation, however, there are reports that the talks are happening simultaneously, but with whom? Who's engaging in those talks and dialogues? Because if that is to happen, then there needs to be immediate cessation of hostilities.
Amita, when we talk about talks and mediations, right from the beginning when the war started, which is 28th of Feb, there had been talks actually, behind the curtain talks, they had been taking place. Often denied by Iran, and to the extent that when 11th of April the first meeting took place in Pakistan, that was also denied by Iran. So in this case we can presume that yes, talks are going on because there has to be some middle ground. Ultimately destruction is larger for Iran in so many ways and economy is getting hammered in multiple manners. The other point is actually when you talked about it, Iran, IRGC had been the one which had made every time clear that the control and the regulation as far as the movement in Strait of Hormuz is concerned is going to be theirs. What is more important is actually Strait of Hormuz is not only about Iran. I mean, there are multiple nations which export chemicals, derivatives, petroleum products, which includes CNG, LPG and all. That is more important actually. Thus, it has the stoppage of all movement in that area has stopped that exports coming out from those countries, which includes Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, Qatar. Yeah. I mean, this is how the things have turned out bad for the world. So when we say about it, it is not only about Iran. And mind it, Iran, when Iran comes to talk about it, actually they have bring in point number 5 of MOU, which talked about arranging the safe passage by the Iranians, and that was for again, 60 days.
It is open to interpretation because it seems that there has been ambiguity as far as the understanding of this very point is concerned. So US is going to take it in a way that it is a free waterway, international waterway as it was before the war, but Iran wants to gain more and even, extra control as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. And that is what we are now looking at, commercial tankers who have now been targeted on part of the IRGC. But what has happened? As far as this deal, of course, on part of the U.S. Central Command, President Trump already issuing that it has failed and launching fresh strikes on Iran. Iran is of the opinion that it is the United States that needs to be blamed for the collapse of the peace deal. The U.S. Central Command, which has been launching these strikes, saying that the Iranian capabilities that have been targeted and mainly in the areas which are close to the several ports that are also important when it comes to the movement of Iranian containers. And this is something which Iran is now saying that it is is no longer bound by the agreement, so they can carry out a harsher retaliation if necessary against the US military. Now, in the meantime, let's talk about how India is also getting affected. India, meanwhile, what is being said, this is a development that is now coming in after the US senators watered down a proposed sanctions bill targeting buyers of Russian energy, reducing the maximum tariff threat from 500% to 100%. And the original proposal, which had called for a blanket 500% tariff on countries continuing to buy Russian oil and natural gas, and the updated version limits the tariff of maximum 100%, and it applies to only of the world's 5 top purchasers of Russian energy. So the top 5 purchasers of Russian crude oil are China, India, Slovakia, Hungary, and Azerbaijan. And the top importers of Russian natural gas are China, France, Japan, Hungary, and Belgium. Now, this is coming across as far as a revised proposal when it comes to the tariff cut from 500% to 100%. So that means there's going to be less disruption, especially when it comes to the Russian oil trade is concerned. So let's in the meantime also talk about when we say that these are the countries who have now received this kind of a reprieve, reducing the maximum number of tariff threat from 500% to 100%. And this is now coming in from the countries who are continuing to buy or to purchase Russian oil and natural gas. And this seems to be the maximum 100% tariff that applies to the top 5 purchasers of Russian energy. That includes China, India, Slovakia, Hungary, and also Azerbaijan. And of course, when we talk about top 5 of the purchasers of Russian crude oil and the top importers of the Russian natural gas, that include China, France, Japan, Hungary, and Belgium. So let me go back to Akansha on this. So Akansha, how are we looking at, it as a reprieve?
So remember, most of these countries that were being targeted through the Russia sanctions bill were the largest purchasers of Russian oil and gas. Even though India is not importing oil and gas from Russia, it is importing crude. So we were still getting impacted because that 500% tariff has now been lowered to 100%. And that includes countries like India, China, and of course the largest importers also being Hungary, Azerbaijan, France as well, apart from these countries, even Japan to a great extent. Now, it should be kept in mind that this entire bill has been part of Lindsey Graham's legacy. Soon after his demise, this bill was introduced in the parliament there in the US Congress as part of his legacy, also because we are being told that Lindsey Graham was very much in talks with the US president upon an understanding that the tariff amount from 500% should be brought down to 100%. And this was after he had paid a visit to Ukraine, and he was already engaged with the US president and of course with the Trump administration as well when it was being decided that they need to lower the tariffs. So India, of course, continues to buy crude. The timing of this is going to mean larger reprieve because just days ago, India's Commerce Ministry had shared some data where our purchase of Russian crude had again started rising. It was back up to 40%, which was in fact right before the sanctions time.
Akansha, apologies, because that actually determined when we speak of India's purchase. And of course, when it comes to no underlying authority that actually can direct India to purchase, their crude or their energy sources from. So thank you very much for joining in.